Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 6 of Welcome to the Dark Sun, also known as the one where we do nothing. Honestly, I feel like this session was one of those TV shows where they start with the same problems at the beginning and they go all the way through, and at the end they have the exact same problems. Because I swear, I didn't even touch my dice until hour 4 of the session. We didn't even leave tier until like hour 4 of the session. Duh. But we'll get into that. So to start out the day, we had 3 quests that were holdovers from the last session that we got right at the very end. One was to meet up with a Templar named Candelandu. He basically had a bounty out for a criminal that was loose in tier. The second one was to investigate a mysterious structure out in the Tablelands. And the third one was to go talk to a female blacksmith who had an unknown task. But first things first, we had been out of tier for a while, so we needed to get some stuff done. Bardock had picked up a scorpion while I was gone, I guess, just a little baby one. And he had a cage, but it was getting bigger, so we wanted a bigger cage, so we went to do that. And then along the way, we ran into a chariot salesman, and he was like a used cars salesman because he was like, hey, get your chariots here, get your chariots here, got some crodlu, got some chariots, yeah, you know you want them, and just like giving the big spiel. Well, this was about where our productivity for the session just tanked completely. So we asked him the price, and he said it was 25 silver a chariot and 13 silver per crodlu, which we discovered was pretty standard price. But Dono was like, well, we're buying in bulk, we're buying 3 chariots, what can you do for us? So he goes, I can give you 10% off, which would have been about 67 silver pieces for all 3, which isn't that bad. But Dono wasn't having that, so he said, how about we pay full price and you give us free repairs for life? And then that was obviously a no. So then Dono countered with, how about 5 free repairs? And that was a no. And it just went on, and then Vashti started egging Dono on, and then Bardock got in on it, and pretty much everybody was just giving this chariot salesman a terrible time. And he suddenly became enemy number 1. And I don't know how that happened. Drewdock was here as well this session, Nibbles still wasn't here. But like all the guys, well, Vashti's a girl, but they were all just getting in on it, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, really, this is what we're doing? And they even talked about going to find other chariot salesmen, paying full price for those chariots, and then driving past this guy back and forth all day and being like, we paid so much less, blah blah blah. And they're like, who's your boss? How can we ruin you? Like an hour and a half of this. No joke, hour and a half. But he was actually very nice and very helpful. He said, you know what? There is this guy named Namtar out in the Tablelands, and he has some crodlu. He might be able to give them to you for a cheaper price. And you probably won't remember, but I think our first or second session, we actually met up with Namtar, and we stole a bunch of crodlu for him. So he was very willing to give us a good price. In fact, we went out there and we got each crodlu for 5 silver. So that's an 8 silver savings, which is amazing. And it's all thanks to this guy that they just hated so much that we got that. We ended up picking up the crodlu later, but we went to go see the blacksmith because that was one of the missions that we want to take care of. And also we have these steel weapons, and one has a Templar sign on it, so we need to get rid of that. And the other one is just not usable by us. So we were like, great, a blacksmith, maybe we can scratch her back and she can scratch ours. So we went in, she like locked the door and told us basically she wanted to fund us into blowing up a warehouse that stored supplies for the ziggurat. So then hopefully King Calic and everyone would be like, maybe we should stop building the ziggurat, maybe we should reopen the iron mines and bring the iron into the city because, you know, that's her job. She's funded by a noble, she's got a noble patron, but there isn't really much for her to do. So that's a thing. But of course, Bardock, being all praise be King Calic, which is really starting to try on my nerves, is like, we can't do that. That's treason. We should turn you in, and just going off and off and off. So we asked the lady to give us a moment. So she goes in the back room and then we talk about it. And I think it was Dono manages to convince Bardock that by blowing up this building, it will show a huge security flaw for King Calic. So in the end, we're actually helping him. And somehow that worked. So we went off to go check out the warehouse. There were 4 guards during the day. We decided to wait until night to see if there were less guards, and there was only 1 at night. The only thing we really observed during the day was that carts would go in empty and they'd come out with water or oil. So that night we decided to make our move, and Bardock summoned a dinosaur because why not? The dinosaur and the guard, who was a Templar, fought it out. We snuck in behind. It was down to 4 hit points. That's all the dinosaur had left when we managed to take out the Templar, which turned out to be interesting because that Templar was Candelandu, and so bye-bye mission. There's no more quest anymore. That's it. That's the end of it. But we managed to get into the warehouse, and there were these huge urns of oil with spigots on them, so we just kind of opened that, started throwing oil around, and then lit it on fire, and it went boom, and we pieced out because you don't want to get caught near that. And for doing it, we got a 15 GP gem, which was pretty awesome and easily will fund us getting our chariots. But we'll get back into the chariot situation in a minute here. After we blew up the warehouse, we decided to go celebrate at a pub, because why not? And we're sitting there, we're enjoying our meal, and in comes this really suspicious looking woman, and she hides at one of the tables. And then naturally, just a few seconds later, a bunch of Templar with some mulls come in, and they're looking for her. And oh my god, Bardock. He's like, yeah, she's right there. She is right there. Do you see her? She's right there. Arrest her. She's right there. And Dona was like, shut up. Shut up. Like, she's a preserver, because they come in, they're like, where's the rogue preserver? And so, you know, we want to protect her. We like preservers, but not Bardock. Bardock is like, anybody who the Templars are looking for must be bad, because all praise King Kellogg. So they arrest her, but they also arrest everybody at that table. And then one of the Templars comes over and he's like, to Bardock, he's like, here you go, here's a silver piece, like, King Kellogg thanks you. And then Bardock's like, no, 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 keep the silver piece, I'm just doing my civic duty. And it's just like, oh, I want to stab him. I legit want to stab him and bury the body somewhere that no one will ever find it. So yeah, the next day we go out to Namtar to get the Crodlu, and because he gives us such a good price, we get 6 because that's what we need to pull the chariots, but then we get 2 extra because, you know, you need to rest them, or if you want to do chariot racings, you need to have 4 per chariot. So we'd be able to at least field 2 chariots for races. And then Drewdock buys 1 more Crodlu because he's like, hey, such a good price, I can sell this. And he does. We get back into the market and he's like, Crodlu, delicious Crodlu for sale, because as the player said, Drewdock doesn't necessarily know that this is just not delicious food to eat. And he sold that Crodlu to a hobbit for 13 silver pieces. So he made a 8 silver piece profit, which was awesome. And then the hobbit started like nibbling on it as he rode it away. That poor Crodlu. Next, we sold a bunch of the weapons that we have collected over the last couple sessions and made a crazy amount of money, so we could pretty much buy anything we wanted. We decided that with getting these Crodlu and then also getting the chariots, we probably needed to have some hired help. Hirelings were an option, but I figured, you know, if you're only hiring them for a day, then they could go off and tell people what you're up to. So even though we weren't 100% on the whole slave thing, we bought a slave. But with Bardock being a former slave and a mull who was treated really well, that's just his concept of slavery, is you must treat your slaves well. So I think he'll be okay. He is a dwarf named Daitan. And then we went and found another caravan dealer that we heard was sometimes set up in the Shadow District. So our DM hilariously, like, the caravan guy turns around and it's this Thri-Kreen with a fake mustache on. He's like, hello, I am a different vendor. And he's like, no, no, I'm just kidding. So this guy, if the other guy was like a used car salesman, this guy was like a used scrap salesman, but telling you it's a car. Because the chariots were in decent shape, but the wheels were completely wrong. And he was like, 25 silver pieces, which is exactly what the other guy was telling us. And then when we asked him for a discount, he's like, 24 silver pieces. So we ended up having to go back and deal with this guy that everybody hated for no particular reason. And he tried to be a bit of a jerk. He's like, oh no, I said it was 27 silver pieces and I'm giving them to you for 25. And so we're like, well, we'll just walk away. So we ended up paying 25 silver pieces per chariot minus 5%, and then with 5% off our repairs indefinitely. So I think that's a pretty good deal. We went home at that point to kind of get our life in order because we have a new slave and we have a bunch of Crodlu and we have all these chariots. And then the next day we set out to find a Thri-Kreen named OTRTs, and she was like, I was on the Tablelands, I saw this weird structure, can you go check it out? And we're like, yeah, sure, why not? So we jumped in our caravans and away we went, and at hour 4 of our session, we're finally leaving Tyr. The great thing about these chariots is you travel at about double the speed that you would when you were walking, so we made pretty good time. We came across a hendar, which is like a weird snake-like horse-flying creature thing, and it was actually a really quick battle, but what slowed us down was we had to have like stupid amounts of math to figure out if this creature was within range. So the DM said he's, you know, like 80 feet away from you and 50 feet in the air. And I was like, well, is he within range? He's like, I don't know, because I'm like, do I need disadvantage or not disadvantage? So I had to use Pythagoras theorem, you know, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So we got that sorted. And then the stupid hendar moved, and he moved 50 feet. But he was also going down at a 45-degree angle, so suddenly we're doing like cosines and sines and trying to figure out how high he is off the ground. So that was a situation. But probably the funniest thing to happen here was that Drudok decided it would be a good idea to pick up Vashti, jump in the air, and huck her at the hendar, which actually ended up working out. It didn't cause much damage, and when Vashti was on the hendar, she was like trying to cut off the wings, and that didn't really work out, but we took him down in the end, and she managed to get one of those like really cool, like the thing falls down and she just like steps off of it and doesn't fall down and eat desert sand. From there we continued on our way, and then we came across 5 brogues, which are like giants with 4 arms each, and this could have been really bad, but we did have the chariot, so that kind of helped things out. And I mean, the whole session, we're all laughing really hard because it's just such stupidity the whole time. And so we get to these brogues and it just gets worse because it's like, come at me, brogue. Don't tase me, brogue, and like all those stupid jokes. And then, so we were separated in the chariots based on weight. So I was by myself because I'm a Thri-kreen and I'm fat. And Dono and Bardock were together, and then like I said, Vashti and Drudok were together. So we're like playing, and I'm like, okay, I have a question. So you've got Drudok, he's a Thri-kreen, so he's got 4 arms. I'm like holding the reins, and if Vashti gets in front of him, like right at the front, and he holds onto Vashti's waist, and then they enact, my heart will go on, will they get advantage? And like, we just all died because it was the stupidest thing, and as I'm saying it, I'm like, how far can I get before somebody figures out what I'm saying? And I got right to the end. Nobody had any idea where I was going with that. But yeah, so this was just the course of the whole thing, just degenerating into laughter the entire time. And this is why it's like hour 5 and we've done pretty much nothing except harass a chariot salesman and blow up a building. Fortunately, this battle went pretty well because we've got this chariot battle thing worked out. We came in with like a flying V like the Mighty Ducks and then just kind of branched off. And it worked out. I mean, it's especially great if you have 2 people in your chariot because the first one drives, so they can use a dash action and get 120 feet, and then the person behind still gets their action. I was by myself, so it was a little bit more conservative. I wasn't dashing. I was just moving the regular 60 feet so I could still attack. But it actually didn't take too long, and we took them all out, and then we decided to camp for the night. And that night, while we were camping, I was on first watch with Dono because Dono refuses to sleep while Salantithius is awake because Salantithius is a bit of a creeper and Thri-kreen like elfin flesh. I'm never gonna eat Dono, but Dono doesn't need to know that. So he was up on a dune looking off into the distance, and he saw this weird structure, and so he reluctantly called Salantithius up, and he went up, and then we woke everybody up. And basically it looks like a ghost ship on a silt river. So that's where we ended the session for the night, but next week we are going to go investigate a ghost ship, which shouldn't be a problem at all. I'm sure everything will go fine. But yeah, that was about it for episode 6. We didn't get a lot done. We did laugh a lot, and it was generally a really fun session. But I'm hoping that next session we'll do a little bit more because you can only beat up on a chariot salesman for so long. But I hope you enjoyed this recap. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again on Sunday for the next episode of Welcome to the Dark Sun. And then along the way, oh my god.